Hello world, it's Berto Prey 5, Kapla. Well, we've just seen Season 3, Episode 8 of Star Trek Picard, Surrender. There are 2 episodes left, and we are running at Warp 9 into a brick wall. Since the beginning of the series, it seems, we've been being teased about what is behind this red door, Jack's red door. We thought we were going to get an answer in episode 6. Then they promised an answer in episode 7. And now we've seen episode 8, and we're no closer to an answer. Although we're certain we will get the answer next episode, I suppose, now that Deanna Troi is in the picture. She has promised to sit with Jack and open the door with him and tell him what's behind the door. But if you've watched the coming attractions, the trailer for next episode, she does in fact open the door. She sees what's behind the door, and then she closes the door and runs away and doesn't tell Jack what's behind the door. Though we at least expect she will tell him at some point, or tell us at some point during the episode next week. Even as a counselor in the future, Deanna is so terrible at her job. The one thing she promises Jack, that she will always be there with him, he won't be alone, and she'll tell him what she sees. She doesn't. At least not immediately. So whatever Deanna sees behind the door has to scare Deanna very much. So we're going to have to think that whatever Deanna's seeing, Deanna understands, and she seemingly runs to tell somebody else and not Jack about what she saw. So what does that mean to me? To me, it means that Deanna understands what she's seeing, and it's something that, quite frankly, probably doesn't have all that much to do with Jack, and has either more to do with Picard or her own family or God knows what. But to me, I just think that they've overplayed their hand. I don't think we're in the same situation we were with Picard Season 1 and Picard Season 2. There's absolutely nothing they can pull out of their ass anymore that can be a satisfying conclusion to what's behind the red door. And this is exactly where I was afraid we were going to be. We were going to be 2 episodes away from the finale. They've yet to answer the biggest questions, and they're not going to have a way of doing it reliably. They're not going to have a way of doing it that's going to feel good. Imagine if this was good Star Trek, right? If this was the Wrath of Khan, and we don't find out that Khan is the big bad until 10 minutes are left in the movie. That Kirk is being chased by this nemesis of his, but we never find out who it is until 10 minutes are left. And then he's like, Khan! And then he's got to kill him, and, he's got to win. So it doesn't make any fucking sense. And then in Star Trek 4, I will grant you, we never find out who sent the whale probe, but we don't have to. The entire movie goes on. We never even feel like we need to find out who sent the whale probe because it's such a good movie. They don't hide anything from us. Okay, we have the same info everybody else does. In fact, the crew, they find out it's the whales before anyone else, that it's whale song. In Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, they kind of hide who's part of the conspiracy, who's trying to to bring Kirk and McCoy, you know, who is trying to get them thrown in jail, and what are they going to do? And they get so tired of waiting for that mystery that Kirk and Spock, or Kirk kind of authorizes Spock to just mind rape that Vulcan woman right on the bridge of the Enterprise. He's like, you know what? I can't wait for answers anymore. And he forcibly mind melds with her to get the answers of the conspiracy. And I'm thinking, you know, until this latest episode of Picard, there was a Vulcan, at least one Vulcan, on board the Titan. Wouldn't it have been nice had they left a single changeling alive, maybe even Vadic, and had that Vulcan attempt a mind meld and figure out, hey, who are the bad guys? What do they want with the Jean-Luc Picard's dead body, right? Maybe that Vulcan could have put her fingers on Vadic's head and said, my mind to your mind, and got the answers. Maybe she could have at least tried. But no. So here we are, and we have nothing but speculation. Nothing but speculation. The big three. I'll say there are the big three, and then there are less obvious possibilities. But for me, at this point, the very most basic option. Now, I say this is the person or persons behind the red door, and I believe they are also connected to the that fiery floating goo face that Vadic had previously had communications with. I suspect they are both one and the same. The red door and the person or persons Vadic was communicating with. I'm assuming they're one and the same, but that could be wrong. But for the purposes of this, we're going to say this is for who's behind the red door. And number one on my list is obviously, and I suppose it's everyone's number one, the Borg. The Borg. Now, why the Borg? Well, because literally every clue they give us says it's the Borg. Early on in the series, Captain Shaw brings up the Borg with Picard. Seven is on the bridge. Even in this latest episode, they were still pushing the Borg. When Vadic, Seven stays on the bridge instead of going into the ready room. And Vadic says, oh, I suppose it's only fitting you stay. I mean, she basically said, well, it's basically the Borg. The problem with the Borg theory, frankly, is that they're being too obvious, if anything. I mean, everything has been pointing to the Borg, so much so that it's like, I almost feel like it's a diversion, that they're obviously not going to be the Borg because everything is making me think it's going to be the Borg. On the other hand, I think maybe now I hate to do this because I feel like I'm giving writers who I know to be bad writers at this point. Good writers would not get themselves in this situation. But I feel like I'm giving too much credit. I feel the most likely is a Borg-Changeling, I won't say alliance, but I feel that the Borg using, and again, I feel I give too much credit here, but using the technology that Voyager gave the Borg to help assimilate species 8472, the Borg have used that tech to assimilate a changeling. And what's behind that red door is a Borg-Changeling alliance, and that the Borg are in search of Jack Crusher / Locutus because Locutus was a special Borg. Locutus was intended to be a Borg king. I remember Shaw at the very beginning says that you were so special they gave you a goddamn name. Why would they give him a name? Because they saw something in Picard's brain that made them think, oh my God, this will so much help. This will so much help our species, our quest for perfection, that we're going to start assimilating people. Up till that point, the Borg only assimilated technology. They saw Picard and they're like, there's some gift in this biological human being that we're going to start assimilating biology. And he was going to be the first Borg king, but for whatever reason that fell through. They had already put Borg nanites in his body. They had already started looking into his brain. And I suspect that Jack Crusher was conceived with help of Borg technology that Picard didn't know was still in his system. And that's why the Borg are coming for Jack. They really want his genetics, and that's basically it. What's behind the door is the Borg is a combination of what we would call the Borg Collective and a great link of Borgified shapeshifters. That's my main theory. The other two big of the top three are the Pah Wraiths, and obviously the Deep Space Nine, the enemy of the prophets. The Pah Wraith, they could do what we've seen being done. Eyes would glow red when they took control of people. It's up there. I mean, there's certainly a DS9 connection with the shapeshifters. I would really hate, though, for it to be the Pah Wraith this far in, and we got nothing else from Deep Space Nine. I do remember back to when the first previews for Picard, even season 2, were released. And remember, season 2 and season 3 were recorded back to back. But when Picard season 2 was released, they had the rock that Captain Sisko had destroyed to release a Pah Wraith and a trapped prophet from a Deep Space Nine episode where the prophets and the Pah Wraith, they each took a body. The Pah Wraith took over Jake Sisko, and the prophet took over Major Kira, and they were fighting off on Deep Space Nine, and Kai Wynn not wanting to, because after the battle, there was supposed to be 1,000 years of peace for Bajor, and there would be no need for Kais anymore. She decided to release some radiation that would prevent the aliens from fighting, and it drove them away. So, is there the possibility that there's one more Pah Wraith out there? I suppose, even though the prophets had told Sisko that his mission was complete, and the Pah Wraiths had been, banished again. The Pah Wraiths weren't going to bother anyone ever again. So that would be a retcon from Deep Space Nine, but let's face it, they're retconning DS9 anyway. And finally, the third of the big three for what's behind the door would be the conspiracy bugs. The conspiracy parasites that were in the Next Generation Season 1 episode Conspiracy. The bugs that crawl up the back of your neck. They stick a little air tube out the back of the neck to breathe. They make you much stronger, and then you want to eat. You want to eat bugs. You want to eat bugs. It is conspiracy I always laughed off as one of the most ridiculous episodes of The Next Generation. It was a season 1 episode. I just like to pretend it never existed, because the fact that the Federation could be so easily taken over, it boggled my mind that there would be so little follow-up, that, it was just easier to pretend it never happened. And now we're basically seeing the exact same thing happen again. The Federation has already been taken over so much. There had to be so many changelings involved that it's going to just to be easier to forget this ever happened than to believe that this really happened in the end. So maybe Deanna recognized the conspiracy bugs and realized, oh my God, this was such a problem that we have got to go run and tell Captain Picard or Admiral Picard, rather than tell his son what I saw, because he's not going to understand. Now, those were the big three. Other possibilities is that it's Q. Q is back from the dead, possibly. I mean, that I could understand Deanna running, although Q was never really evil, and she says she feels an ancient evil on the ship. Section 31, it's a possibility that she sees that the person behind the red door and the person who was communicating with Vadic is actually a Section 31 agent all along. So it could turn out to be a Starfleet officer that Deanna knows. Maybe it's Dr. Bashir. Maybe it's Miles O'Brien. Listen, I'm not writing this. I'm just saying it's possible. It's possible. It could be Romulans. I don't like it, but it could be Romulans. It could be an AI. AI's big now. You just blame everything on AI. We can go out there. It could be the Suliban from Enterprise. It could be the Future Man from Enterprise, from the Temporal Cold War. And you wonder, why would Deanna know who these people are? I don't know either, but it's possible. Another possibility that I thought was a joke, I thought it up as a joke first, but now I'm reevaluating as a joke, and I think I've even heard other people mention it, is that Beverly herself was a changeling. Because the voice calling Jack to the door is Beverly's voice. It even says it in the closed captioning. Beverly, that's Beverly's voice. And it's like, Jack, come home, or Jack, open the door, whatever. So it's Beverly's voice. So I have two thoughts. One, Beverly Crusher herself has always been a changeling her entire life. She was one of the 100 sent out with Odo. Wherever she landed, she decided to take human form. And for whatever reason, we never knew, she grew up as a human being and just took to it, and she's so much in love with being human, she doesn't even know that she's a changeling herself. She so perfectly mimicked human anatomy, she is able to have a child, and he is half changeling, half solid. And that's why they want Jack Crusher. Or, and this I think is another possibility, sometime after Nemesis, or sometime maybe before Nemesis, during the Dominion War, because we understand when Nemesis came out, the Dominion War was over. The Dominion War was over. So sometime before Nemesis, Crusher was replaced by a changeling during the Dominion War. But she was never detected. And the real Beverly Crusher is still a prisoner of war somewhere. Maybe in Cardassia. Maybe she's already been taken back through the wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant. I would say it's probably somewhere in Cardassia, somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant. The actual Beverly Crusher is still alive, and she has somehow made some sort of connection to her son. How they worked out her pregnancy, I'm not sure. Maybe they impregnated the actual Beverly and then replaced her baby. At the moment, you know, they put her baby in the stomach of the changeling, and she gave birth to a real baby. But whatever it is, that's actually Beverly Crusher being held somewhere, and that was so disturbing to Counselor Troi that she decided to not tell Jack what she saw and ran off to tell Picard, we've got to head to Cardassia Prime. I don't know. When I first said it, it was as a joke. But now, when I say it out loud, it seems like it's plausible. It seems plausible. The problem is that there is no great answer here. There is no good answer. And, like, we've already... Like, the Shrike has already been destroyed. The Shrike has already been destroyed. Vadic is already dead. When are we going to get the answers to why did they say the Shrike had photonic energy? Okay, remember when they first scanned the Shrike? He said there's photonic energy. Photonic energy up to this point had always meant holograms. Okay, it had always meant holograms. I thought for sure that there was a mobile emitter, that there was a hologram or a holodeck on the Shrike. It never played off. Never got mentioned again. The ship is now destroyed. Nobody's ever going to fill in why the Shrike gave off photonic energy readings anymore. It's gone. It's sailed, and we're supposed to forget about it. Like Vadic. No one's going to answer why did Vadic have scars on her face. The woman who was experimenting on her, she had no scars. Why did Vadic have scars on her face? Why did Vadic smoke? To look cool. I know. Why does everybody smoke? To look cool. But why did Vadic smoke? Why did she have scars on her face? I expected answers for this stuff. We're never going to get them. Vadic's dead now. They're not coming back to answer any of that stuff. I feel like an idiot in a way that I trusted people. You know, they're a trifecta of 3 specific people who had in the past always agreed with me that what we were getting was bad Star Trek. But listen, had one of these 3 people said, oh my God, this Picard is really good this season, check it out, I would have, okay, listen. Once in a while, there's a broken clock. Somebody can see something and something. You never know. If 2 of these 3 people had been like, oh my God, you really should check out Picard this season. It's actually good this season. I would have been like, well, I was going to watch it anyway. Okay, so I'm not blaming anyone for me watching Picard. As I always told everybody who's ever watched my channel, if they put the Star Trek brand name on it, I'm going to watch it. So I'm going to watch whatever Trek they come out with, whether it's Picard, Season 4, Strange New Worlds, Seasons 2 through whatever, even Prodigy. I'm going to watch it because I'm a Trek fan and I watch Star Trek. I don't blame these people for making me watch it. I blame them for raising my hopes, giving me hopeful expectations. Okay? And listen, they're allowed to have their opinion. I don't truly blame them. Like, I'm not gonna call them out and say, I demand an apology. That's bullshit. Obviously, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I am just baffled how 3 people I most respected on their opinions on things like Star Trek, and they can all be so different than my own. What happened here? I don't get it, but it is what it is. What are your thoughts? Who's behind the red door? Is it the Borg, the Pah Wraith, the conspiracy bugs, Q, Section 31, Romulans, rogue AI from the future or the past? Is it Michael Burnham in the Red Angel suit? Is it Captain Archer and Porthos? Is it the Suliban? Is it the real Beverly Crusher, who's a changeling? Is it Captain Picard's corpse of a mother still hanging from the chandelier at Chateau Picard? Who is behind the red door? We will find out in like 5 days. I really want to read your theories, though. So please, if you have any that I didn't mention, put them in the chat, please. Thank you all for listening. Those are my opinions and my opinions alone. Qapla' all, bird out.